A king who ate himself to death. A dancer killed by her own scarf. A man who jumped off to his own death. These aren't urban legends. They're real, documented deaths. Let's count down 10 real deaths so bizarre, you won't believe they're true. Number 10. The lawyer who shot himself to win a case. In 1871, in a courtroom in Lebanon, Ohio, lawyer Clement Vallandigham was defending a man accused of murder. He was known as a sharp, confident attorney, the kind of man who would do anything to prove his point. And that day, he took it too far. His defense was that the victim had accidentally shot himself while drawing his own gun from a kneeling position. Most lawyers would have just described it. Vallandigham decided to demonstrate it himself, using what he believed was an unloaded pistol. He drew the weapon exactly as he described, and it fired. The bullet hit him in the stomach. He died the next day. Here's the twist, his demonstration worked. The defendant was acquitted, because the jury saw with their own eyes how easily that gun could go off by accident. A lawyer accidentally proved his own case, with his life. Number 9. The mayor who tripped over his own beard. Hans Steininger was the mayor of Braunau, Austria, back in 1567. He was famous, and we mean truly famous, across Europe, for having one of the longest beards in the world, reportedly over 4 feet long. It was his pride and joy. Normally, he kept it carefully rolled up and tucked into a small pouch at his waist. But one day in September 1567, a fire broke out in the town. Chaos spread quickly through the streets. In the panic, Steininger forgot to roll up his beard. As he rushed down a staircase to respond, he stepped on it, lost his footing completely, and broke his neck in the fall. The fire never even reached him. After all those years of fame, it was his own beard that brought him down. Number 8. The Playwright and the Bottle Cap. Tennessee Williams was one of America's greatest playwrights, the creative mind behind classics like A Streetcar Named Desire and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. He had won Pulitzer Prizes, filled Broadway theaters, and changed American literature forever. In February 1983, he was found dead in his New York hotel room. The official cause, according to the medical examiner, was choking on the cap from a small bottle of eye drops. It's believed he had a habit of holding the cap between his lips while applying the drops each night. That evening, lying back on his bed and sedated, his reflexes were too dulled to react in time when the cap slipped. One of the most celebrated writers in American history, undone by a tiny plastic cap most of us would never think twice about. Number 7. The Dancer and the Scarf. Isadora Duncan was a pioneering dancer, widely regarded as the mother of modern dance. She was known for her dramatic, flowing style, both on stage and in life. In September 1927, she was in Nice, France, in high spirits, about to take a ride in an open-top sports car. She wore a long, flowing silk scarf that day, draped loosely around her neck and trailing behind her. As the car pulled away from the curb and picked up speed, the scarf caught in the spokes of the rear wheel. It wrapped tight in an instant and she was killed within seconds. A woman famous for graceful, flowing movement, killed by the very thing that defined her style, a piece of fabric. Number 6. The King Who Ate Too Much. King Adolf Frederick of Sweden was known for many things, but history remembers him most for one particular evening in February 1771. He sat down to what can only be described as an extraordinary feast: lobster, caviar, sauerkraut, smoked herring, and champagne, all in generous portions. But the meal wasn't finished yet. His favorite dessert was semla, a sweet cream-filled bun served in a bowl of warm milk. He loved it so much that evening that he had 14 servings of it. 14. Shortly after, he became seriously ill and died, with digestive failure widely blamed as the cause. He is remembered today as one of the strangest royal deaths in history. Number 5. The Philosopher's Frozen Experiment. Sir Francis Bacon was one of the founding fathers of the scientific method, the man who argued that knowledge should come from observation and experiment rather than assumption. In many ways, he helped lay the groundwork for modern science itself. In 1626, while traveling through England on a bitterly cold winter day, a question suddenly struck him. Could snow be used to preserve meat the same way salt does? He couldn't let the thought go. So he stopped, bought a chicken from a nearby vendor, and right there in the freezing cold, began stuffing it with snow to test his theory. Shortly after, he fell seriously ill, likely with pneumonia brought on by the cold exposure, and died within weeks. A scientific pioneer, undone by his own experiment. Number 4. The detective who bit his tongue. Alan Pinkerton was one of the most feared and respected detectives in American history. He founded the Pinkerton Detective Agency, survived multiple assassination attempts, and once uncovered a plot to kill President Abraham Lincoln before the inauguration. In 1884, after a lifetime of danger, he was walking along an ordinary Chicago sidewalk when he slipped on an uneven paving stone and bit down hard on his own tongue. It seemed like nothing at the time. But the wound became infected. Gangrene set in rapidly, and within weeks, the man who had spent his entire life chasing dangerous criminals died from a single bite to his own tongue. Survived every mission. Taken down by a sidewalk. Number 3. The Flood of Molasses. On January 15, 1919, the people of Boston's North End were going about their normal morning. Workers were on their lunch breaks, children were playing nearby, horses and wagons moved through the streets. None of them noticed the massive steel tank looming overhead beginning to give way. It held over 2 million gallons of molasses, and when it burst, it released a wave over 25 feet high that surged through the streets at an estimated 35 miles per hour. It destroyed buildings, snapped a railway car off its tracks, and swallowed everything in its path. 21 people lost their lives, with around 150 more injured. Some residents reported that on hot summer days for years afterward, you could still smell molasses in the neighborhood. A wave of dessert syrup became one of the deadliest disasters in Boston's history. Number 2. The Great Beer Flood. October 17, 1814, started like any other day at the Moe & Company Brewery in London's Tottenham Court Road. Workers went about their shifts, the giant wooden vat sat full as usual, and nobody expected anything to go wrong. Then one of the large metal hoops binding the biggest vat simply snapped. The pressure gave way instantly, and over 320,000 gallons of beer burst through the brick walls and surged through the surrounding streets. The neighborhood was poor and densely packed, with many families living in cramped basement dwellings just below street level. 8 people tragically lost their lives that day, drowned in a literal flood of beer. It sounds almost like a joke. It wasn't. And now, for the death so unbelievable, it was actually filmed. Number 1. The man who jumped off the Eiffel Tower. Franz Reichelt was an Austrian-born tailor living in Paris in the early 1900s. He was a dreamer and an inventor, and he had become obsessed with one idea, a wearable parachute suit that would allow a person to leap from a great height and glide safely to the ground. He had tested it using dummies dropped from his apartment building, with mixed results. But he was convinced it would work. In February 1912, he received permission to conduct a test from the Eiffel Tower. He told authorities he would use a dummy. Instead, on the morning of the test, in front of a crowd of onlookers and rolling newsreel cameras, he announced he would jump himself. He stood at the edge of the first deck for a long moment, looking down. Then he jumped. The parachute suit failed to open. Franz Reichelt fell to his death, and the entire moment was captured on film, one of the earliest tragic deaths ever recorded on camera. He believed he was about to make history as an inventor. Instead, he made history as a cautionary tale. History is full of moments stranger than anything Hollywood could write, from kings undone by dessert, to inventions that ended in tragedy. If this list surprised you, there are plenty more stories just as strange waiting to be told. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one, and let us know in the comments, which of these 10 deaths shocked you the most. We'll see you in the next video.